Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Dissectors podcast, and also the second time we've recorded this. We went about 20 minutes just now, and for some reason, the OBS wasn't picking up everybody else's audio, so it was just me talking to myself about Ultimatum and another one, and yeah. So, apologies about that. Welcome to the second episode of the show, where we're going to be talking about basically creepy comics from Marvel and DC. And with me today, I've got co-host Stofferex, obviously, and my friend Super Things on Cups, who has also made progress on this picture. It's now in beta. It's looking really good. I'm really happy about that. My friend Wooden Hornets, Xander, and then two guys who are new to the show, Nathan Provost and Adam from Uberosity, who's recently making new Pokemon battles.
Hello.
And thanks for the plug.
Yeah, go check those out. Check everybody else here out, obviously. Should stand without saying. But
no, just me.
So yeah, Stoph, I'll hand it over to you to just give us the intro and what we'll be talking about today.
Right. So today we're going to be talking about Marvel and DC Comics, two of the most popular comic book publishers of all time, creators of some of the most popular fictional characters of all time: Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wolverine, etc. And yeah,
you could tell he's trying to go faster because he's already done this.
I'm really sorry, guys. Like, something you have to understand, guys, it's 5 a.m. here for me, so I'm really sorry if I sound tired or exhausted. Anyway, yeah, Marvel and DC. Basically, what people might not understand about Marvel and DC is that when people think about them, maybe they usually think of kid stuff, superheroes or whatnot. But Marvel and DC has published some really grotesque and disturbing-looking imagery that might surprise you, honestly. Really gory and scary, just letting you know. So, if you do not like this kind of stuff, then, yeah, just a warning, heads up.
Yeah, and a little disclaimer, this one gets it has some disturbing imagery, which we're going to show on the screen. Of course, we're going to talk about panels and stuff. We're not really going to read off the comics. We're more so going to give a very, very skim summary of each story. And then, yeah, we'll show panels if there's a visual disturbing thing or not. And
right.
First stories we're going to go over are from Marvel, which, from what I'd say, is definitely the more kid-friendly of the two from Marvel and DC, at least in my opinion. Because with DC, you've got, like... I don't know, with DC, it seems like, one, you've got more powerful people, and two, you've got... Batman dominates a lot of that. So, and Batman and definitely his Rogues Gallery are supposed to be, like, really dark characters.
Like Joker, Scarecrow, Two-Face, and yeah.
Yeah. And also, another disclaimer is, unfortunately... We're not going to cover Scarecrow for this one because I feel that character kind of like deserves his own, like there's so much to him, especially in Arkham games, which I'm a big fan of, and why kind of Batman's my favorite hero personally from either Marvel or DC. But yeah, Scarecrow will get his own episode covering what he goes over. And yeah, I guess the first story we're going to look at is one called Marvel Ultimatum.
Right. So, Marvel Ultimatum is set in the Ultimate Marvel universe, which is a retelling of many of the classic characters. Basically retelling, and a lot of things are changed as well. Like, something that Ultimate Marvel is known for is having a darker tone than regular Marvel, and Marvel Ultimatum is one of the biggest evidence for this. So, yeah, basically Marvel Ultimatum is a story about Magneto being pissed off at just regular human because he thinks that, like, they killed Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver, or what was it?
I'm not 100% behind, like how they died, but I understand it's supposed to be after he thinks Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch have been killed. And basically, I think, from what I understand, obviously, it's supposed to be an alternate story because a lot of heroes die in the story. Like, I don't know. I'd almost say, like, it was kind of why I didn't like it. I felt like it was trying too hard to just be like, look at all these people we're killing, and it's like really edgy and whatnot.
Yeah.
I can understand why people would like it, and I understand it instills a lot of despair, but I don't know. But yeah, basically that happens, and the first disturbing, basically how the story opens is New York City, or the entire globe, ends up having a lot of catastrophes because Magneto, in a rage, flips the magnetic poles of the planet, causing a lot of floods, volcanoes erupting all over the planet, whatnot. And
Yeah.
so New York City, where most of our characters are, Fantastic Four, the Avengers, or they're called the Ultimates in this, and the X-Men all happen to be hanging out. A flood comes in, and a lot of our heroes end up drowning. People like Nightcrawler, Wasp, etc. And then the first really disturbing thing that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the comic happens.
Yeah. So basically, like Multi said, one of these heroes that unfortunately drowns is Wasp, who is the assistant/lover of the hero Ant-Man, also known as Hank Pym. So basically, she drowns and her body disappears. And Hank Pym, of course, gets worried about this, so he, along with Hawkeye, goes out for a searching party trying to find her. However, Hawkeye later do find her, but what he finds with her is not for his liking. Basically, he finds her corpse, but not only that, he also finds the X-Men villain, the Blob, eating her corpse, commenting on how apparently she tastes like chicken. And when Ant-Man, or Hank Pym, sees this, of course he gets enraged. He grows in size, becoming Giant Man, picks up the Blob, and in an act of revenge, he bites his head off. So, yeah. Pretty neat imagery right there. Right, kids?
Yeah. And like I said last time we recorded this, I'll just quickly say, I didn't really know anything about Blob. All I knew about him was like vague memories of when I watched X-Men Origins Wolverine as a kid. And from what I remember, he wasn't even a villain in that one. But, yeah.
From what I heard of X-Men... I was just gonna say, from what I heard of X-Men Origins Wolverine, really like misinterpreted the character of the Blob. Apparently in the movie he's not even a mutant.
Oh.
He's just fat.
Yeah.
Wait, do you remember Xander, or you just...
Yeah, I saw the movie. He was just some guy in a boxing ring, just fat. That's all they
Well, he
did.
looks muscular too.
Oh.
Well, yeah, but like he is strong, but yeah.
There's fat on
it's
top
just like,
of it.
I don't know, it just seemed, and we discussed this last time, it just seems like pretty out of character to me. Like, at least with Magneto, you can understand like why he went insane and did what he did, is despite how horrible it is. But like with Blob, it's just like, unless and of course it could be, but unless I'm misunderstanding the character, like, that's a pretty big jump to go from being whatever villain he is to just eating somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we have to comment though, no, he did not kill the Wasp. She did drown, so she did die beforehand, so he's guilty free of that, but it still doesn't change the fact that eating her corpse is pretty effed up.
Yeah. And
And
then, talking about Magneto, basically the
Yeah.
next pretty big disturbing part of the plot is, so, New York floods, and Charles Xavier finds out back at the Academy, the X-Men Academy, I don't know what it's called, but, yeah, and he sends out a message to everybody basically telling them, like, oh, it was Magneto, I know, because he told me about what he would do in a hypothetical situation like this. And, Magneto arrives over to the Academy, and he starts talking to Charles, and Charles Xavier's like, he starts basically comparing Magneto to, in something that was a bit odd for me to read. I don't know, it didn't sound like something he'd say personally from what I know about him, but I guess this is kind of an alternate universe comics or whatever. He starts like comparing Magneto to Osama bin Laden and Pol Pot and Hitler and shit. And then, yeah, Magneto just snaps his neck.
Yep.
Dang.
And what's so heartbreaking is that Magneto and Professor X used to be like the bestest of friends, but they have so different views on the whole humans and mutant relationship thingy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a giant comic book guy, as I've said before. That's, Oh yeah, and I something else I forgot to mention at the beginning of this recording. We were originally going to have Seth from Comic Book Rap Battles here to help us discuss this, but he had something else to be at, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
also the reason we're covering this instead of what I teased at last time, where we were going to talk about a movie, which we still are, but we figured we started talking about this over the week break from last episode, and I became pretty interested in this. And yeah, also it's Free Comic Book Day, so I figured, hey, this would be a cool way to celebrate it. But
Yep.
yeah, that was
There you
just
go.
a little sidetracking. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I've read around that apparently a lot of people had problems with the fact that I don't know, the way Professor X just kind of takes his death. Like he doesn't try to warn anybody else about what's going on. He doesn't try to get everybody to come to the academy and stop Magneto before he does what he does. He just kind of like sits there and lets him kill him. So it was a bit weird, pointless.
Yeah. And didn't you mention earlier about a death that stood out for you?
Yeah, the next point I was gonna make is that yeah, obviously this comic, I'd say like definitely what people talk about most with Ultimatum is the blob eating wasp thing, which is pretty messed up. Personally, a death that I found a lot more disturbing is when it involves Doctor Strange, and it's kind of like a weird side thing of the story. Like from what I could tell, they don't even resolve what happens with like whatever his enemy's name is. I don't know. He's some sort of demon thing. I don't know his name off the top of my head. But
Is
yeah,
it
the demon-
Dormammu?
Yeah, Dormammu. He breaks out of hell or wherever he was from, some dimension, and Strange goes to stop him, and yeah, the demon just he basically takes Strange's ribbons and he squeezes him until his head explodes, which is pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like I said, they don't even resolve it. Like they talk about it for a couple minutes, but yeah, it was just kind of out there, and the imagery to me is a lot more disturbing than the wasp thing.
Yeah. And a lot of other heroes dies, Wolverine dies, and many others. It's implied that Spider-Man died, but we're not sure. He's missing, but knowing this comic, he might as well be dead.
Spider-Man can never die.
Well, he did several times.
Yeah, and as we said last recording, that Spider-Man's a lot of people's favorite hero, so obviously, I feel like, yeah, obviously Marvel knows that, so they try to, like, and especially with, like, Wolverine as well, a lot of people love Wolverine, so they just wanted to make the impact of this comic a lot more disturbing, I guess. And then, yeah, obviously, like Stoff just said, all the heroes basically get together in the final act of the comic, and they go to stop Magneto, and, yeah.
Let's just say the climax is once again pretty disturbing.
Yeah, basically Wolverine gets, I guess, vaporized. I didn't really understand this scene. Like, I think Magneto takes the antimanium somehow off of his skeleton, and then, like, he forces Vision and Iron Man to murder him with, like, their beams and shit and disintegrate him.
Yeah.
And then, in revenge, Cyclops completely blows off Magneto's head, what's pretty graphic here. And yeah, basically, that's pretty much the whole Ultimatum story.
Yeah. So, yeah, like we said, Spider-Man, Marvel Comics' arguably most popular character, is many of our favorites here. Like, it's mine, it's Nathan's, it's Adam's favorite. And, yeah, perfect transition to the next one, which is a really controversial Spider-Man story, simply known as Spider-Man Sins Past. So, sadly, the best reactions has already been made, and they can't not be made again, unfortunately, because I already told the story. But, yeah, for you who don't know, the story is basically this little bit of backstory. Many of you know Spider-Man's lover is Mary Jane Watson, of course. However, in the beginning, it was nothing like that. His first lover was actually Gwen Stacy, a blonde, cute girl, and they were perfect together. However, Stan Lee, for some reason, got the bright idea that saying like, "Hey, you know Gwen Stacy? Let's just kill her off. Excelsior." So that's what they did. So basically, Green Goblin, Spider-Man's main villain, kidnapped her and threw her off a bridge. In a desperate attempt to save her, Spider-Man used his web in trying to catch her mid-flight. However, it accidentally snapped her neck upon impact, killing her, and ended with one of the most saddest and tragic ends ever in a comic book history. It was controversial, to say the least. Years later,
Hello, everybody.
the comic book
Welcome
known
back.
as Spider-Man Sins Past gets released, and it starts with Spider-Man getting attacked by 2 assassins. Spider-Man doesn't know why, but he fights them off and actually managed to unmask one of these assassins. And strangely enough, this assassin looks almost identical to Gwen Stacy, his dead girlfriend. However, it's revealed that it's not Gwen Stacy. It's that these 2 assassins are in fact Gwen Stacy's children. And no, Spider-Man is not the daddy. The daddy is in fact Norman Osborn, aka Green Goblin. So apparently before the whole Green Goblin killing Gwen Stacy, she willingly slept with Norman Osborn and, carried around his children. And thanks to the Goblin genes that Norman Osborn had, these children grew up way faster than what a normal human normally does, and becoming adults pretty quickly. So, just the thought of this girlfriend of Spider-Man, who was a great character, cheating on him with his worst enemy is pretty effed up, I must say.
Yeah, like, we talked about this last time. Like, we had to make sure, because at first, like, a lot of us were confused because most of us haven't read the full story. But Nathan here looked it up, and it was confirmed that it was like a completely consensual, it was completely
so
consensual
weird.
between them. And I'm very surprised that she was able to hide that, because like I do wonder when like this apparently happened that Spider-Man would not know about like Gwen being pregnant or anything. It just seems really
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I don't know, somehow she got away with it, and Spider-Man didn't notice. And
I also don't really understand how, just because like I don't really understand, I guess, the goblin serum in general, but like I didn't know that had anything to do with like accelerated growth. But
like, I don't know. All I know is that it apparently makes you a lot stronger, but also like makes you go insane, pretty much. Like, I don't know. This is so like far-stretched and so ridiculous that this story is unfortunately not very good in many people's eyes, and I'm not even sure if Marvel counts this story as canon anymore, just because they're so ashamed of this.
yeah, it is like a very weird thing to just kind of like I don't know, reveal to the public.
Yeah. So Spider-Man Sins Past concluded.
Yeah, I didn't really have any images for that, because this is more so of like a psychological like surprise sort of, rather that has disturbing implications, rather than something that was very explicitly like creepy, like, I don't know, shock value-ish that Ultimatum was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now finally we're past the period where we recorded last time, so everything else is new for most of us. We did talk about what we're going to talk about next, Carnage. We talked about it a little bit, but luckily about halfway through talking about his origin, I realized that I fucked up. So, I guess we'll now segue into that. We're basically dealing with Carnage. There are 2 parts to this we're going to cover. One is we'll have the origin explained, which I unfortunately, personally, I didn't get to look at. But after Stoph is done, or whoever is done explaining the origin of Carnage and why that's disturbing in its own right, I'll talk about a comic that I was pointed in the direction of by, and shout out to our comic books. I posted a thread there for this episode, getting their help on like what we should cover, what we should look at, and they were very helpful. So just take it away with the origin, and then I'll come in with what they pointed out to me, a comic book called Mind Bomb.
Right. So Carnage is one of Marvel's most psychopathic and disturbing characters of all time. And, but the thing is, Cletus Cassidy, which is Carnage's real name, has always been this disturbing and sadistic and psychopathic, even before he bonded with the symbiote. Because apparently, as a child, he did many horrific acts. Like, first of all, he pushed his own grandma, like, down the stairs, killing her, just because he felt like it, I guess. He found a puppy dog and decided to drill into its head, killing it just because he felt like it. And eventually, later on, he got sent to an orphanage, and he fell in love with this girl, and he tried to, date her. But she rejected him, and as an act of revenge, he burned down the entire orphanage, killing everyone in it, just because of one rejection. So,
Wow.
that's Cletus Cassidy in a nutshell.
What a jackass.
What a psychopath.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, so later on, he bonded with the Carnage symbiote, which is the offspring of the Venom symbiote, becoming Carnage. And as Carnage, he's using a phone book to find random people to kill, and then taking his own blood, writing on the walls saying Carnage was here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, and also something that they talk about in Mind Bomb as far as the origins go that I actually found like pretty messed up and kind of painful as well is basically, from what I understood, Cletus Cassidy and Eddie Brock ended up getting into like a cell together in prison, and Eddie Brock obviously was without the symbiote, and Cletus I guess was in prison because of murdering people. And basically what ends up happening is the Venom symbiote comes crashing through the wall and it frees Eddie while Cletus is in the same cell. And Cletus had previously accidentally cut himself with a knife he had. And when Eddie escaped with the Venom suit, and as Cletus was watching out, a little bit of the symbiote actually got inside of him. And it basically infected not only him, but also his blood, therefore giving him the lot more disturbing appearance that we'll get into later.
Yeah. But yeah, Multi is now going to talk about a specific Carnage story known as Mind Bomb. So, yeah.
Yeah, this one in particular was actually, like, I found the imagery is very disturbing, and the fact of it really gets into Cletus's psyche. And basically the story revolves around... Yeah, thanks, Adam. But basically the story revolves around Cletus has been locked up in an asylum. I don't really know if what specifically came before or after this story to like merit like why he's there, if it explains why he's specifically there, or if this is just like a one-off thing. But basically Cassidy is locked inside an asylum, and they're keeping him in... These people are kind of keeping him on lock, and, they're watching him, and they're trying to, I guess, fix him. And this guy named Dr. Kurtz comes in from Washington, and they don't really explain him very well. They sort of, like, he's hinted at that he's, like, the special psychiatrist that's supposed to help Carnage, or, at least extract information from the suit. And when it basically shows up, and he goes into Carnage's cell, and he basically, I'll share my screen actually. I feel like that would make this a lot easier to show images, because this is a very visual story. And can you guys see?
Hold on.
Yes.
It's loading. It's like, yes.
Okay. So basically, let's see, what is this? Okay, yeah. So basically, Cletus, he manages to subdue the Carnage symbiote by using like a sound gun, and he gets the whole suit to kind of melt off Cassidy, and really just I didn't get an image for that, and he starts trying to probe into Cletus's mind, and Cletus starts talking about how the Venom suit, in a strange turn of events from Eddie, is that Cletus was actually like really insane and disturbed even before he was infected with the symbiote. And basically, throughout his explanation, he starts delving into how, like, he pretty much almost gets off on murdering and being, like, really disturbing, and, how much it eases him or whatever. And, unfortunately, while Cletus is distracting the psychiatrist, let's see. Yeah, more disturbing imagery from when he's talking about, like, infecting and killing people, and how it, it's art to him. That's something he keeps repeating throughout the explanation, is that it's like art to him and whatever, and that's how he deals with it. And then while I'm trying to remember exactly like how this happens. I think like the explanation was like the Doctor infects Cletus with a bunch of vitamin C, which is supposed to like metabolize or supposed to like slow down his blood, but due to the Carnage symbiote, it metabolizes out of his body a lot faster than he predicted, and basically the Doctor. Wait a minute. Oh, I don't know. I guess I didn't get that image either. But yeah, basically,
Oh boy.
the Carnage symbiote ends up like drilling itself into this Doctor's head, and he starts basically infecting the Doctor with memories of how he sees the world. And what I'm showing here is one of the panels from when he's describing it. You know, he's basically showing this Doctor like, you know, the normal world, and then showing how it should be. And as you can see here, he starts talking about, you know, on the poster it says, "Gore stop, aborted fetuses," and I think it says infected syringes and pus and shit. So yeah, like pretty surprising for something that would be in a Marvel story, which, like I said, I commonly relate to be a lot more of a kid-friendly thing than DC of all things. But yeah, and then the next thing that kind of happens is the Doctor ends up going kind of nuts from all of this and breaking out of the cell and starts attacking like guards and shit. You know, he kills them and then they have to put him down.
Man.
So yeah.
Something I would like to note, by the way, about Cletus Cassidy is that if you've seen Cletus Cassidy and think that he actually kind of looks like another comic book character known as the Joker, it's not a coincidence, because apparently the Joker was the main inspiration of Cletus Cassidy, aka Carnage, which is really interesting in my opinion.
That is interesting. It's from
Really?
a different universe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, didn't you mention earlier that they had like a crossover even?
Yeah, so basically there's
What?
this non-canon crossover between Batman and Spider-Man, and I guess it's a little bonus thing here. It's not that disturbing, but whatever. Basically, the story is that there's this doctor that pretty much trying to prove a point that with her technology, she can actually cure some of the most insane people, like Cletus Cassidy and the Joker. So she puts these devices on Carnage and Joker, and it seems to cure them both. However, when they get taken into Gotham, Carnage reveals that thanks to symbiote, he was only pretending to be mind-controlled, and he flees along with the Joker. However, Spider-Man suspected this, so he traveled to Gotham as well, battling Carnage and whatever. Batman shows up as well, and eventually, at first, Batman wants to work alone and doesn't want to team up with Spider-Man, but he later realizes that in order to take down someone as Carnage, he has to, know from the expert, which obviously is Spider-Man. So, basically, they team up against both the forces of the Joker and Carnage, which is really awesome, in my opinion.
Wow, that is pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I've never heard about that.
What's really cool also is that, Joker and Carnage eventually fights each other because they have so different views of killing people.
I don't really see how that would at all be a fair fight, but
Yeah.
Well, Joker actually managed to defeat Carnage at first.
weird.
Well, that's exactly what you wouldn't expect. That's probably why they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I understand, from what I've heard about Venom, I don't know, I guess I haven't seen much about Venom other than Spider-Man 3. That's been my only exposure to the character.
Well, yeah, same, and that's
unfortunately.
why it's really interesting to hear about his origin. You know, I didn't really know about all this, but I certainly knew about Venom and stuff in Carnage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But all I knew was that Carnage was supposed to be a more insane version of Venom. But I don't know, from what I understood, isn't Venom supposed to be kind of sane, at least a little bit, and having a little bit of morals? That's something I didn't
think
know.
so.
Venom, from my understanding, is that Venom is a tad bit more sane than Cletus
Carnage.
Cassidy. Definitely more sane, I will say. Because the thing is apparently Venom do see himself as a hero. It's just that he really hates Spider-Man.
I didn't
and
know
wants to
that.
ruin-
I always just kind of assumed he was this kind of mindless, destroying
Yeah.
machine that didn't really care. I didn't really know anything about
He
him.
is somewhat like that, but at the same time, he does want to be a hero himself. It's just that he hates Spider-Man, would do anything in order to ruin his life.
Oh.
Which is why he usually teams up with Spider-Man when Carnage hits the scene, since Carnage is stronger than both Spider-Man and Venom combined.
Yeah.
But anyway,
the next thing on the itinerary is another one that was pointed out to us by. Oh yeah, I guess we could quickly look at this video. So yeah, apparently, I don't know, Stove let me know about this a couple hours before we started. There was this, let me get the screen up. There was apparently a theme park ride about Maximum Carnage that they made, and I guess we can react to that real quick.
Yeah. Has everyone pulled up the video?
Yeah.
Alright.
Nathan,
I was just
Adam,
gonna watch it
Xander?
on multi-screen.
I was also going
Alright.
to watch it on multi-screen.
Okay. We can
Alright.
do that.
3,
This looks like it
2,
was recorded
1.
in the 90s.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was apparently from 2002.
Oh, well, close enough.
Close.
It's basically the 90s.
3, 2, 1, and go.
It is Halloween Horror Nights,
Oh yeah.
a special ticket event that takes place.
I thought that was
after
Godzilla at
dark
first.
hours.
Islands of Adventure was a park designed
this?
around thrills and thrill rides.
What is that in the
And
background?
Halloween Horror Nights, the
I
event
guess it's like a
itself is
zombie
all
or
about
something.
thrills and
Oh
chills.
lord.
It takes us
What? Is this supposed to be
2 hours
Carnage?
to do it.
Yeah.
And it's an
Yeah,
army
that's
of
Carnage.
people, and they're
That's
choreographed
awful.
to the point where everybody knows
It
what
is
they have to do in a
2002.
certain period of time.
Well,
it's almost
true.
like a ballet.
I don't know. I
How
feel
it
like
happens.
even in 2002, I'd
One
expect
of the
more than
lands
this.
that gets this twisted
What?
facelift is Marvel Superhero Island. By day, this Islands of Adventure land is home to superheroes.
I just want to see the ride.
Ooh, that animation
where
though.
mild
He just hit the
people
biggest
are
whip
safe
of
to
all
roam
time.
the streets. By night, good
Time
has
lapse.
been
Okay.
crushed.
Police.
Oh my
The
god.
villains
Whoa,
have
what the-
won, and humans are in
That's pretty
danger.
creepy.
This land morphs into Island Under Siege.
I feel like this would be
understand.
Carnage,
like
which
this
is
is
the master villain
the
of our
pinnacle
island,
of like
basically
spookiness at
is
night.
The master.
Because like during the
of
daytime,
space.
this looks like
He's
weak
basically
sauce,
turned
but
the
at
whole
night
island
it looks
into
pretty
kinda
dope.
chaotic space.
I don't get the ride part.
You
How's it
basically
arrive?
go
It
through
gets-
like a
it
haunted
gets harder in a
mansion.
minute.
Smoke and
That's
fire.
not-
Yeah.
It looks more so like
Jungle villains
like an attraction
make Marvel
and not like a
Superhero
ride.
Island feel like nothing
I thought you were
short
gonna say
of
a tragedy.
theme Park war zone.
we were looking for a tragedy. We would just play the Spider-Man 3
Island
movie.
Under Siege is one of the event's 5
Hey, it's a good movie.
mazes.
I enjoyed it, but
Carnage.
You have to navigate
critics
through this
didn't.
kind of barbed wire experience with gamma radiation and toxic chemicals, target practice with laser beams.
Okay, here we go. I think we're on the ride now.
And all the while, these evil henchmen and supervillains chasing you, wanting to capture you.
I'm not
and make you part of their
understanding
evil
some of this
plan.
makeup.
Yeah, I don't.
Maximum Carnage is an interesting
It looks like it's
attraction.
not a
There's
Spider-Man
lot of actors
movie.
popping out of nowhere.
Or Spider-Man anything.
It's different from the other attractions, which is always good.
If anything, he was like the
A run
wrestler in
through
Spider-Man
maximum
1 that
carnage
Peter
can
Parker
be very
faces. Ghost Adventures.
Feel out of
Fun fact: the
control.
rest of Spider-Man 1 was actually Randy Savage.
Yeah, I
Macho
know,
Man.
it's Macho Man.
Designers want you to
This
Maximum
hurts.
Carnage, the core scare is all about threatening
Bones
environments.
always
It's about
ready.
being out of control.
So how did they create an atmosphere that appears to be threatening while keeping it safe?
This looks poopy.
It's all about the high-tech
Not a ride, it's a walk through.
Basically, one of the scares we use in all the houses are these
Yeah,
pneumatic
like
devices.
come on. If I wanted to exercise,
To the
I
character,
would
and
go
as
on
the
a
guests walk
treadmill.
through, they're frightened
Right.
by the sound. And if that doesn't scare them, that will.
Who is that?
This is the vortex or the
Hey,
tunnel.
it's-
It's
Oh, wait,
a
yeah,
lightweight
I just
cylindrical
realized
device
people
that
watching
spins
off my screen
around
can't
a
even hear
bridge
the
as
audio.
you're walking through
Yeah, I
it.
don't know what's
No,
happening.
you have
So
no idea
He's
what
basically
that is.
talking about like, oh, we have
That makes you
pneumatic
kinda wanna
drills,
grab onto
and we
the
put in a
rails
good
because you're
swallow.
not
It goes
sure of the
it
motion
scares
that's
people.
going through.
Stupid.
Basically, this is the waterfall effect.
Waterfall.
Yeah, he just said
Looks like
basically
this.
this is the waterfall effect.
Oh, it's the effect. It's not an actual waterfall, it's just an effect.
Yeah.
That's not a real red light. That's just an effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
That's
Get your
not a real
Sony
per-
Vegas out of here.
So what's it like?
That's
to
not a
take
real
trip
person, that's
through
that's just an
maximum
effect.
carnage?
Just
It
an
was
effect.
CGI.
It's not real fire. You can touch it.
It was like the ending of
Just
Rogue
an
One.
A maze of twisted metal.
That's a really weird close-up picture.
Carnage's henchmen
Shot.
are on the
Picture.
loose.
Wait,
Whoa.
does Carnage have henchmen?
The music is
Carnage is here, but most of the time it's his henchman, apparently.
Oh,
No, I
okay.
know, but like, does he have henchmen?
as you trudge through pools
Not
of toxic
usually.
waste.
Like in Maximum Carnage, you sort of have.
They had to have more than one person on the walkthrough.
I guess,
Yeah.
but like, I don't know, it just seems a bit weird. Carnage isn't somebody I would expect to have henchmen.
Yeah,
Yeah, same.
he doesn't need henchmen.
Tunnel disorients you, and then
Wait, is he?
She just got the piss scared out of her.
and finally
Twice.
you enter
Yeah.
This is really
the
dumb.
nuclear reactor room.
Ow.
Going through the cervix of doom.
Like, what kind of budget was that? Like, that's how my basement looks right now.
I don't know what kind of rich ass neighborhood you live in, Nathan.
Uh-oh. Is that Doc Ock? I don't know, there was some guy in glasses, like he wasn't even in scary makeup, he just like...
He's just a worker.
He
Oh,
was
sorry.
Doc Ock minus the
Minus the Ock part.
minus the Ock. He was just Doc.
There's that.
What a waste of 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
Whatever.
That was 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
Stupid.
Jeez.
There's my fucking
Rough
ideas.
times for the Dissectors right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess it'd be kind of entertaining to go through, but yeah, whatever.
Now
I
we
feel
should all
like
get
we were
together in real
actually
life.
there.
Yeah,
do,
let's
like,
all
a
get together in real
walkthrough.
life and do it.
That would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But anyway-
what's up next?
But watching a muted YouTube video for me and Nathan, it was not that eventful.
You could have just clicked it. I don't know. There wasn't much like to the audio. It was just a guy talking about like we have spooky
Yeah, I figured it was
drills
like a
and a
document-
spooky waterfall, and that's how we scare
have-
people.
We have waterfall. That's not a real waterfall. It's just an effect.
Break
Yeah.
water.
Anyway, shall we move on?
Yes, we
Yes.
shall.
Alright, so
What's
enough carnage. Now time for Submariner.
Okay, so
You mean
Submariner,
Submariner?
the depths. No, it's I think
Is
it's
it not?
Submariner.
Submariner. It's not Submariner. So now I'm just an asshole. Okay.
Yeah, you are. But basically, Submariner, it was another
The
comic that was
depths.
pointed out to me. Did I just fuck up my own thing? I don't know. But anyway, it was something that it was also pointed out to me by our Reddit. And basically... Can't find the cover. Oh yeah, there it is. So basically, it was something that was pointed out to me by our Reddit, and it has to deal with Namor. And
Namor.
whatever. I don't know anything about him other than like he's basically an Aquaman ripoff from what I can tell, and like not even
Actually,
a good
he
one.
came.
Like he looks exactly like him. Like, from what I've seen.
Actually, Namor actually came out before Aquaman. Just saying.
I'm just a jackass then. Never forget.
Join the club.
I don't know what
So
I'm talking
Aquaman
about.
is the ripoff, technically.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll just move on. So basically, this story actually I really liked. Like with the other ones, it was kind of like, oh, this is interesting, but it's like, you know, it's whatever. But I actually really liked this because it's less of a comic book and more of a graphic novel. And something, yeah, I was actually gonna say this to Stove earlier, but I was like, I'll put this off to the episode. I think like with comics, I'm always kind of surprised when I've actually when I had to do research for this episode, because with comics, like I read a lot of books, and I used to read a lot of graphic novels. So with comic book issues, I kind of assumed it would take around the same time to read, but I kind of didn't really know that like, oh, comics are actually like pretty short. This is only like 30 pages, and a lot of it's just picture panels. So I didn't really expect comics. I don't know. I'm not used to really reading through a comic and it being like, oh, I'm done with that in like 10 minutes. That wasn't anything, but I guess that's kind of normal. With this one, this is more of a graphic novel, and basically what it has to deal with is, imagine kind of like Jaws, but they've turned this sort of hero, or at least I'm pretty sure he's a hero, into like, they kind of put him in a perspective of like people who don't know about him, and so he kind of like comes across as this like almost deep sea demon. I know Xander specifically, you kind of have like a fear of like the open ocean or whatever if you're there. Shit, I guess
think
we
we
lost
lost him.
Xander. God
Good
damn it.
night, Xander.
Yeah, last I heard, I think he might have been done after we had to redo the fucking recording.
Yeah, he
'Cause
gave
said
up.
He was laying down in his bed, so I guess he went to sleep. But yeah,
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
Rest in peace.
yeah. Rip. Eyeless Jack finally got him from last time when we summoned.
Oh.
Which unfortunately we
Wait.
don't have a summoning for any of these stories, so we're not going to summon Namor or the.
We're not
Marvel
gonna summon
zombies.
Submariner.
Damn it.
No,
Summon
it's the Submariner.
I want to summon Carnage.
Summon Submarinera.
Submarina.
I
Submariner.
want to sub. I
Delete
wanna
me if
summon
you
the-
smoke marinara.
want to
Anyway.
summon the Max.
What, Matthew?
Yeah.
I want to summon the Maximum Carnage ride.
Oh yeah, shit. Yes, summon Carnage's stupid-looking henchman. But yeah, so basically, it deals with the scientist who's like he's a big skeptic. He goes around debunking things like the Yeti. He went up to the Himalayas and did like a long study on the Yeti just to disprove it. And he's invited by these other people to go on an expedition into the deep, deep sea to try and find Atlantis and go after another scientist, I think named Murdoch. I can't really remember specifically. But, yeah, and the story basically documents how the further down they go, the further this guy's psyche starts going nuts. And he keeps hearing these stories from the other deep sea guys on the submarine about how they've all encountered, like, a monster, and they believe that the sea monster has been, like, you know, destroying their submarines and stuff, and is the reason the last expedition went missing and such. And yeah, and is the one guarding Atlantis that they're trying to find. And yeah, this guy basically has somewhat of a hallucination, I believe, when he gets down far enough and he's heard enough of these stories where he believes that Namor comes to him and he looks like this monster that's on the screen now. If my screen's still, yeah, my screen's still showing. And
Spooky.
yeah, and it freaks him out and it leaves him scarred. And part of the reason it's implied that another reason he's kind of losing his mind over this shit is because apparently like he had to deal with a dead girlfriend that he forced to like abort their baby and shit, and that's really like, I don't know, like I guess that's kind of also messing with him because throughout the story he also talks about that a lot. And yeah, he kind of loses his mind more and more. Until at the end, when they end up finding the guy, and he's basically huddled in this abandoned submarine that they come across on the way down, and yeah, they find the scientist, and all of his crew has been killed, and they've been dead for over 2 weeks, and he's in a really bad shape. And the guy starts talking about how they found Namor and they found Atlantis, but they were chased off. And I don't think they ever actually explain like how the crew dies, because like, unless I'm misunderstanding Namor, isn't he supposed to be like a good guy or whatever?
Namor, from my understanding, is more of an anti-hero. Like, he will do whatever it takes to protect Atlantis, even if it means committing villainous acts.
Oh, okay. I guess that also explains an Ultimatum, because this also kind of confused me when I was reading Ultimatum, because like after the flood, Reed Richards goes after Namor and like starts accusing him of doing it, which I guess, you know, almost makes sense. But then like Namor, like, it looks like he's about to basically like murder Reed Richards, and I thought that was pretty weird. Like I don't know, that from what I understood, I thought he was supposed to be just another hero, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess that does mean, I guess Namor did kill the crew, because that was something that was kind of unresolved to me. I didn't really understand. But yeah, so basically the main character freaks out, and he watches a tape that the first guy, the Murdoch guy made, finding Atlantis, and he decides like, oh, you know, this has to be kept hidden from the scientific community and whatnot. And he decides to basically lock down the submarine and escape in an escape pod to the surface to get away from and leave everybody else to die. And yeah, the pod is about to run out of fuel and shit, and he kind of starts to accept his death when Namor rushes him from like the depths of the sea. And basically it kind of like, it's supposed to imply that like he killed him, but then like the final act of the thing is showing that the guy made it to the surface somehow. They don't explicitly state it yet, and it's talking about how, oh, Atlantis doesn't exist, and you know, I can say this is the only survivor of the expedition, as everybody else met an unfortunate end mysteriously. And the outro, sort of to the comic, also, you know, basically talks about it's the guy monologuing to himself and throwing his journal in the ocean, implying that Namor saved him and took him to the surface after his pod ran out of fuel. So yeah,
That's
my
pretty interesting.
explanation doesn't give it a ton of what do you say? It doesn't do it justice. So I would definitely I recommend anybody to go check that out, because that was actually personally really good from what I read.
How long was this one?
It was like, I'd say about 100 pages, but it was only one issue, so it was all kind of in one area, and it kept a cohesive story without making awkward breaks.
That's fair. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds like one that I would actually be interested in checking out. So I'm definitely gonna.
Yeah, there
see
were
what I
other
can do
stuff
on
I kind
that
of
front.
skimmed over that was definitely worth also looking at and reading too, if you're interested in this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, some of these issues, they just have so much content on there that it's almost impossible to do like a complete synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess with the Submariner in the books, we're gonna move on to Marvel Zombies, I believe.
Yeah, Marvel Zombies was something that actually originally kind of kicked off me wanting to do this kind of episode, because I originally thought, like, oh yeah, we'll do a whole episode on Marvel Zombies, but then, like, when I looked into it, and like I said, I came to the realization that comic books really aren't as long as normal books. I kind of realized we wouldn't be able to do a whole episode on Marvel Zombies. But yeah, I'll turn it over to Stowe for a little bit so he can explain. I've talked a lot here, so I'll let somebody else talk a little bit about Marvel Zombies.
Right, so Marvel Zombies, as the name implies, is I think it's a non-canon series about all the famous Marvel heroes being turned into disgusting-looking zombies. And it all started, I think, in the Ultimate Fantastic Four comics. I don't really know the whole origins of it. I know there was like an unknown infection that spread around and started infecting all the heroes, turning them into zombies. And I personally have one of the comics known as Marvel Zombies Returns, which mostly focuses on Spider-Man still trying to be a hero despite being a zombie. And thanks to him being turned into a zombie, many of his powers changes. So he doesn't shoot a web anymore, he shoots out his own veins. And even comments like how painful it is to swing around in them, but he does it anyway. So basically, the comic ends with a battle against the Sinister Six. However, since Spider-Man is a zombie, he brutally murders all of them in gory and disgusting ways, and even eats their flesh and corpses and everything. Sandman freaks out about this and actually manages to escape, and finds his universe of Spider-Man, who's just a normal human, but he believes that it is the zombie Spider-Man. So he basically turns himself into sand and, goes into Spider-Man and makes Spider-Man explode into pieces, accidentally killing his universe's Spider-Man. And the comic ends with pretty much Spider-Man realizing that by killing the villains, that he turned them into zombies. So there is no going back. Like, he can only accept his fate as a zombie. And, eventually it goes on, and pretty much every hero you could think of get turned into a zombie and starts killing many of the heroes in gory ways. So, yeah.
That's something, all right.
Yeah, it's one of the most...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's one of the goriest things Marvel's ever done, to be precise.
Yeah, I feel like... Also, like, I feel like Marvel Zombies was a nice mix of, like, kind of the despair you got from ultimatum mixed with, like, the kind of scariness of, like, gore of whatever, like, I don't know, I kind of lost track of what I was saying. Like, it's kind of like, it's sad to see, like, all these, like, it's sad to see the world they exist in, where, like, you have all these great heroes that, like, throughout like your life you've grown up with, like, oh, they're the heroes of the world and, like, they save everybody, and then, like, this very, very grim, horrible future of, like, where, yeah, they end up all becoming infected with some sort of source. Like, what I think would make the story a little bit better would be, like, if they actually described the origins of, like, how it all started, because in Marvel Zombies 1, which is the one I read, I believe Stove was talking about another issue of this. I didn't read them all. I know there's I think there's at least 6 or 7. But I read the first one. And basically it kind of starts off already after the zombies have eaten all the normal people of the world. And they don't go after each other because apparently they can't eat each other because it's disgusting to them, and it makes them sick and it doesn't help them. So yeah, they basically have to go around and eat anybody who wasn't already infected. And the story picks up basically where the story basically picks up right after they've run out of food, and Magneto, from what I understand, they try to go to a separate universe, and Magneto destroys the portal. And the story opens with him trying to escape and the zombies, and that while they're trying to eat him because he's not infected. And he runs for a little bit, and he manages to stop them for a little bit, but eventually, inevitably, they all track him down and eat him. And the Silver Surfer shows up because, I guess this takes place before whenever that point happens in the story. And he warns them about Galactus, but of course this time he gets attacked by the zombies, and Iron Man leading them tells them to kill, the Silver Surfer and stuff, and they eat the Silver Surfer, and they gain the powers cosmic from that, and then so when Galactus shows up, they fight him, and they also eat Galactus. And
they eat Galactus?
Yeah, it was very weird because they try to use their powers on him at first, and then Galactus kind of shrugs it off because it doesn't hurt him. But then somehow they build an amplifier just on a whim, and it works at first, and they manage to knock him down, and then somehow they get on top of him and they eat him as well.
Lord.
Yeah. And then they end up, since there's no food left on Earth, they fly off to other planets, and they basically start destroying everything in the galaxy. It's implied.
That's crazy. And that's six issues of that. Wow.
Yeah.
There's actually a crossover comic as well, known as Marvel Zombies versus the Army of Darkness, which actually focuses on Ash from Evil Dead battling the Marvel Zombies.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
It just doesn't stop.
I'm not a big fan of Evil Dead. Well,
Evil Dead.
It's not that I'm I don't like it. It's just that I've never really got into it, so I guess it's kind of cool, but it wouldn't be something that interests me, I guess. I thought this story was pretty cool. So, but yeah. I guess eventually I'll look into the other stories because Xander showed me a site where there's a ton of free comic books and stuff. So yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I do really like this story because it's pretty original, honestly. I'd never really heard of this before, any concept like this, unless it was one villain maybe trying to spread a virus or spread whatever. But this is just everybody is all sorts of screwed up, and I think it's really cool, and it's kind of an interesting take, and I love how it's non-canon, so they can just kind of do whatever they want with it without screwing up all the other storytelling that they've done so far.
What's so scary about Marvel Zombies, in my opinion, is that these characters are super-powered heroes that use their powers to protect us. However, as zombies, they hunger for our flesh, and what's so scary is that they still have their powers. Spider-Man's still just as strong, just as agile, he can shoot web and whatnot. Hulk is just as strong, Wolverine is just as fierce, and yeah.
Right, so basically just don't stop them.
It is scary to think about, just in and of its right. Imagine you live in the Marvel's universe, and even if they didn't become zombies, just imagine all the heroes in that universe all of a sudden just going rogue and deciding to turn against the populace. That would be pretty, that'd be pretty bad.
Well, hell, that's more or less the kind of the plot for Batman versus Superman and Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah,
sort of, yeah. Except for, I guess this has the added
Batman
appeal of they're gonna, not only when they catch up to you, they're gonna kill you, but they're also gonna try and tear you to pieces and eat you. So I guess that does add to the scary factor. But yeah, just in and of itself, all these characters, all of a sudden turning against the planet, and now you have to somehow figure out a way to survive not getting killed by all these super powered people. Is that's frightening, by itself.
Exactly, terrifying.
So yeah, last Marvel story we have in the itinerary here is actually going to be explained by Adam. I'm sure you've had enough of me and Stoff kind of ping-ponging back and forth. And this was yet another story. This is yet another story that our Reddit our comic books pointed out to us called, what is it called? Hellstorm, Prince of Lies.
Hellstorm.
I looked into it a little bit, but because we were kind of getting short on time as far as like how much time we had to research stuff, I wanted to spread my time out to other things. So we kind of split it up, and Adam wanted to take this and look at it, and I understand he has notes and stuff that he wants to go over, so I'll hand the floor over to him.
Yeah, thank you, Multi. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm going to talk about Hellstorm, Prince of Lies. The first thing that kind of stuck out to me was the name, Hellstorm, Prince of Lies. What does that entail? Well, you all are about to find out. And the first thing that I realized about this story is that it is literally about Satan himself. It is actually about Satan.
Shit.
But, yeah.
Wow.
But the comic starts... Sorry, what was that?
I was just gonna say it's weird that it's not about Mephisto then, because he's pretty much Marvel's Satan.
Mephisto.
Yeah, well, this
I
this
came
story
across
is
things
separate.
about Mephisto, and I didn't really understand what he was. So,
Pretty much Marvel's Satan.
wow.
Well,
Anyway,
this story seems like it's separate from the rest of the Marvel universe. There's no like mentions of other superheroes. There's no mentions of supervillains. There's pretty much nothing from what I could find, unless that some of these characters are in other stories. But I didn't recognize anything, so I would have to believe that this is separate. But the comic starts with this guy, Dr. Aram Siegel. He's talking about Satan, and he's like, he's in like a crowd of college kids. He's on a college campus doing like a seminar about Satan, and he's debating whether Satan is like a being or kind of an idea, and then he doesn't even come to a conclusion at the end. He's like, buy my book and you'll find out. So like, this guy, he's kind of like a con man, I want to say. But then you get introduced to what I believe is the protagonist of this story. His name is Gabriel, and apparently he is an ex-demon slayer. But where he is in the story, he's kind of conning this woman, because this woman believes that she's possessed, and he performs a quote-unquote exorcism on her for $200 cash in the middle of a park. So, yeah. But eventually, Gabriel goes home to his crappy apartment, and there's a letter he gets that says, beware the Black School. And I have no idea what the Black School is. I don't know if it's a reference to anything, but hell, we find out later in the story. And what actually happens is Gabriel goes and finds Dr. Siegel, who was mentioned earlier, and he asks about what the Black School is. Dr. Siegel says that it is a school in Iceland that teaches about the occult, the dark arts, and the teacher is supposedly Satan himself. Of course, Dr. Siegel reminds Gabriel that this is all a legend and everything, and none of it is 100% true. But after saying that, Dr. Siegel also says that supposedly there is a black school being formed in the United States. It cuts over to a group of hooded figures with a man chained to a table, and it looks like they're sacrificing him. It looks like a group of people who are in the Black School. And then fast forward a few weeks, it cuts to another sacrifice, but Gabriel actually busts through the doors and interrupts the sacrifice process. The leader of the school students starts fighting Gabriel, and then it turns out that the leader in the small group of students is actually Satan himself. And he just starts wailing on Gabriel and beating the crap out of him. Eventually, there's a portal to hell that opens. Gabriel gets sucked in, and it turns out that the Satan that fought Gabriel was a fake Satan. And when Gabriel goes to hell through the portal, he meets the son of Satan and is tempted to join him. That's really all that happens, and I found this particular comic extremely confusing. I like the There was there's like 5 different characters that I didn't even bother to add into my synopsis because they didn't seem relevant at all. So I kind of had to shovel through the shit here to come up with that synopsis. And I liked the idea of it, but the execution was so off and it was all over the place that it was really hard to understand what was going on. I don't think there is another issue. I'm not 100% sure on that though, because it just kind of ends off as a cliffhanger and Satan's like, "Hey, join me, buddy." And the symbolism in the story is kind of cool though, because Gabriel is actually a name of one of God's angels. And that was like the most I could find for symbolism though. So I mean, saying that there's a lot of symbolism in this story is kind of a stretch. And but the last line is "Rejoice, the prodigal son returns," and the son of Satan says that. So yeah, that's really it for Hellstorm, Prince of Lies. There was that one twist, and that was really it.
Yeah, like
really different from Marvel Comics.
Yeah, I was gonna mention. I think like the thing to take away from this is definitely like the fact that Marvel made like a comic about just straight up Satan, no like Mephisto or whatever you mentioned earlier. Like people Mephisto. Also on our comic books were talking about Mephisto. Like I guess we can talk about him since this. I guess it kind of relates. If you want to give a brief description on what he's about.
All I know is that he's pretty much the Satan of Marvel Universe. He's also the father of the Ghost Rider villain Blackheart. So,
yeah, I kind of remember that from the Ghost Rider movie, but
yeah, Ghost Rider's Blackheart, like the movie's Blackheart, is nothing like the comics.
Oh shit! I don't know. I've never read Ghost Rider, so that's pretty much all I know about him. Unfortunately,
I will say Blackheart does not look like an emo teenager. He looks like this black demon with this huge hair, pretty much, and he just looks really cool. So yeah, the way they did him in the movie, I don't know what the hell they were thinking about.
I guess I don't know what would have been simple to portray him as, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's really interesting. Just the fact that like Marvel made just a no parody character, no light version, just like straight up comic about Satan. So that's pretty. I don't know. I guess it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy. It was really out of Marvel's element, I thought, especially because there was like no connection to anything else in the Marvel universe. It was like straight out of left field. I was like, what the hell am I reading?
I personally always found like Satanism and sacrifices to Satan stuff always a little bit disturbing because there's so many ways they do it. So
yeah, and I mean, reading about it is one thing, but then like actually thinking about the process and the psychological thoughts that go through somebody's mind who would be actively partaking in that's just like next level stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess that ends Marvel.
Do a ritual right now.
Oh yeah. We'll do the Hellstorm ritual. Summon Satan himself.
Satan, yes. Take my kidneys.
Oh, that was. I cannot stress how fucking like. Just last episode, just as a little side thing. Like,
that was great.
I hate Eyeless Jack now. Like,
you guys are never gonna get away from Eyeless Jack on here. Everything is gonna relate to him.
Yep. He is this podcast's curse.
Silent House. But yeah, that ends the Marvel segment. If we ever do a part 2 of like comics, which there's so many out there, then yeah, we'll cover more. But I guess those are the main ones that we could think of from Marvel. And yeah, with that, we'll move on to what I think will be a little bit more interesting, giving the more adult audience conveniently, DC Comics. And we open with, obviously, what is, commonly has very disturbing villains, Batman, and from what I understand of the story, involving the Joker, probably the most iconic comic book villain and easily one of the most disturbed. So,
Yes, we are going with Batman Death of the Family, not Batman A Death in the Family.
Yeah, that
which
was
are
very...
two
Well, you
different things,
emphasized
Multi.
the, but I think you meant to emphasize the of and the in.
Yeah, I was very
Go
confused
on.
doing research on this, because, like, yeah,
Fuck.
apparently there's Death of the Family and A Death in the Family, which is really weird, but... And I think they actually cover... They almost cover, like, similar things, so it's... I don't know, it's weird, but yeah.
Now I noticed you put my name on the doc. Am I supposed to know something about this?
No,
Because
no,
I feel
don't
like
worry, man.
you
I
just
got
put
it.
my name
I
on
think
the
you
last
said
minute.
earlier, but I don't know, I must have got mixed up with something.
Don't worry. I'll take control.
Take it over, man.
They don't call me Daddy Dom for nothing. Wait, what? Fuck.
Take it over, Daddy Dom.
Adam the Dom. A Dom. Here we go. So this is the short synopsis of Batman Death of the Family. It starts off, there's omens happening in Gotham.
There's almonds?
Omens, not almonds.
Sorry.
There's
Oh,
almond
almonds,
M&Ms
yeah.
raining from the sky. No. There's rivers running backwards, deformed animal births with like a lion was born with two heads, and it's more or less just stuff along those lines. And then right after that, it cuts to the Gotham precinct, and it's pretty much the normal routine. There's Commissioner Gordon talking to one of the cops there, but then suddenly the light goes out for a split second. The generator comes back on, though. Commissioner Gordon goes, don't worry, guys, the generator's got this, the backup generator, whatever. And then he looks in the doorway, and he goes, wait, it's the Joker. And then the Joker does his usual shtick, and he actually goes on a killing spree in the precinct. He himself is in the precinct, and at this point, the lights have shut off completely again, so the only thing that is lighting up the place is Commissioner Gordon's flashlight. And at the end of the whole thing, after...
Is there a horror game for that? Because that sounds like there should be.
It's
I will
the
look that
Slender
up.
Man
Hold on.
game. But what happens at the end, after Joker leaves, it's found that he stole his face, which had been removed surgically by Dollmaker a year ago. And it was in evidence at the precinct, and Joker stole it. And apparently, after that, Batman's in the Batcave, talking to Robin and Alfred. He's like, yo, what's going on here? The Joker hasn't shown up for a year. Why is he back suddenly? What's his plan? And the Joker shows up on live TV with his old face sewn onto his faceless face. And it's really disturbing imagery. You can see it right there. And on that
disturbing.
live TV broadcast, he basically just says the mayor dies at midnight. He doesn't say it's a game or anything. He doesn't say give me blank blank or do blank blank or the mayor dies. He just flat out says that the mayor dies.
Well, of
So
course,
the mayor gets...
Joker's never really been someone, in my opinion, from what I understand, who like wants things. He's kind of just like, chaos and whatnot. So it seems like his character.
I worded that wrong because do you remember the famous scene from The Dark Knight where there's the two boats, the boat's full of criminals and the boat full of civilians, and he's like, you have to blow up one of the boats or I blow them both up.
Dude,
it's like there was no game
that's
like
crazy.
that. There was no psychological aspect to it. He was just straight up the mayor dies at midnight. There was no do you want to save blank or do you want to save everybody in the children's hospital? There was no choice to make. But the mayor gets lots of bodyguards to surround him in a closed-off location, and he seems safe. But eventually, the bodyguards start freaking out. All of the bodyguards start freaking out. And it turns out the Joker poisoned every single one of the bodyguards instead of poisoning the mayor. And the toxin in the poison caused a muscular contraction in all those affected, and it basically made all those who died from it wear a permanent frown on their corpses.
Frown?
Ugh.
A frown instead of a smile.
Huh. It's weird.
Whoa, Joker's not playing around anymore.
Yeah, Joker's not playing around. At this point, things have been weird.
Shit.
Joker stole his own face back. He's been gone for a year. He's doing things that he hasn't been doing. So it's like, what the hell is going on? So Batman eventually decodes the Joker's messages, and they meet up in an abandoned warehouse. And the Joker's wearing a mask. They engage in a little fight, a little scuffle, and Joker takes off his mask. It's actually Harley Quinn under the mask. And Batman gets thrown into a vat of the toxin that the Joker used on all the bodyguards. Batman doesn't die for whatever reason, but the bodyguards did. Whatever. It's a comic book.
Batman. Because he's Batman.
Yeah.
And so the Joker and Harley are next seen together in the next scene in a different location, where the Joker says to Harley, "You've always been my little monster. Now I need you to be perfect." And of course, he has a knife in hand, and he's referring to cutting off her face. And she asks, "Would you still find me beautiful?" And he responds with, "When did I ever say I found you beautiful?"
Ooh.
Right.
Shots fired.
And that's all I'm going to go through. That's all I read. And I did read the rest in the synopsis, but I do not want to spoil it for anybody who actually wants to read it. It's really good. It's phenomenal. I definitely recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, I've always heard that that's like one of the top DC stories, like let alone even besides of horror. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a perfect story. I found.
Like, I guess I wonder when in the Batman timeline that takes place, or if it's like an alternate story or something. Because that does seem like, I don't know, that just seems like that would cause some. I kind of want to know and I didn't research that, but yeah, I kind of want to know the circumstances behind like why whoever Dollmaker is would cut off his face or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure who Dollmaker is.
That's very weird.
I have heard one reason why he cut off his face, and you're not gonna believe it, but he simply did it for shits and giggles.
Wait, he did it to himself, or?
I would too.
No, he asked Dollmaker to do it.
Wait, really? He asked him to do it? Jesus.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Like, I think from what I read, he deliberately tricked people into putting him into Arkham, only for him to ask Dollmaker, like, "Hey, can you cut off my face? I think it would be hilarious."
Yeah, so that's actually the creepy stuff that Joker's known for, not some of the Joker that I described where he's not playing games. That's the Joker where he's like, haha, I'm going to be batshit insane. No pun intended, but...
Even then, like, even when he is quote-unquote normal Joker, he's still, like, just in general, like, besides Scarecrow, that's definitely, like, probably the most terrifying villain because of, like, you know, all the shit he does. He's very unpredictable. And the fact that, like, someone also, like, who doesn't really have superpowers other than, like, I guess, immunity to toxins and chemicals. But yet, somebody without any superpowers can, like, go toe-to-toe with, like, a lot of DC heroes who do, and Batman himself, who...
I mean, Joker's managed to kick both Superman and Wonder Woman's asses before, so, yeah, that's saying something.
Well, shit.
Simply because Joker has something that most other characters besides Batman doesn't have. Joker has a genius mind. Like, he is a genius.
Like, people who are insane normally in the media genres, whether it be movies or whatever, usually have an extremely high IQ, and that's what kind of enables them to have those kind of insane thoughts and ideas, and gives them the ability to carry out those ideas and thoughts.
Multi, I love your file names. You try to name it something and it's like, oh, it's already been taken, so you just add fuck after it.
Yeah, that I really like. Maybe I'm not using OBS right, but that's really annoying me. That like I can't. I wish like I could also like just have everything in one scene and then just have like a bunch of images as the source. But like I tried that, and like if you try to add another image instead, like I'll just do this as an example, like fucking I don't know if I wanted to add another Carnage image. Like, instead of just being able to switch to it, it's like, oh, sorry, it'll throw it over it, so it's really annoying.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I don't know, maybe I'm using it wrong, but yeah, that's why I'm
Wait, hit the I button next to it. Bada bing.
Fuck, you're right. Whatever. Okay, thanks. But... Anyways, yeah. Next thing we're going to talk about... Oh, yeah. Just as a side thing, while we're talking about Joker's strengths and stuff, I'll put it on air right now. He never should have fucking beaten Sweet Tooth. That is bullshit.
God damn it! Not now.
I don't fucking care. That's so dumb.
You're gonna start fucking drama.
I'm sorry, but I had to say that. Let's see, what is the next thing? Yeah, fuck you, death battle.
Wait,
I still think they made the right choice, but yeah.
Just don't fucking. I don't know the way they animated it. It's like Sweet Tooth would never do that. But anyway.
Wait,
Anyway, that's not the point of this podcast. So yeah.
The point is
Yes.
whatever I want it to be. So whatever.
Sure.
What
That's
Matthew?
very fair.
Quickly look in chat.
There is an update on the Dissectors drawing.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, all you got. Now you just gotta
Okay.
shadow it.
Let me just-
That's pretty good. Good job, Matthew.
Let's see. What's the Alpha Beta Charlie drawing?
Isn't it Gamma?
Charlie.
Wait,
I don't know.
you
What's
could've-
after Beta?
Pretty sure it's Gamma.
Just call it Beta Image 2.
No.
Gamma.
you could do Delta.
Engage.
I already fine.
You could make up
Seven.
Kelta. Mm.
Dude,
Spelta. Helta.
Fuckbutt.
Skelta.
I guess
Yeah.
while I'm doing this, somebody can give the intro to Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
Swamp
It's-
ass.
It's about a swamp. It's definitely a thing.
It's about a swamp thing.
Matthew.
All right, next.
I think the saddest part of that is that's the most you've contributed this entire time.
Yeah, it has. It is actually. That's the most
Yeah,
words
'cause
he
it-
said in a row this whole time.
Well, I don't know shit about comic books.
Why did you?
Why are you here?
Cause it's the show.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
So
true.
yeah, here's
We're
the
glad you're here.
updated image on the Matthew has contributed, and I'm very thankful. I'm very happy with this.
Yeah, I contributed as the drawer.
Still
It's true.
needs to be shaded, I guess, but yeah, otherwise that's. a
And
completed
I
drawing.
guess I have transparent pants as well, but yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's not. It's dark.
It's just the same color, Stof.
What are you talking about?
His pants.
I think he's colorblind.
Oh, I thought he was talking about hands.
Wait, actually, it is. His
Pants.
pants are a little
Pants.
darker.
Whatever.
Yeah, the pants are darker. You're
Okay,
colorblind,
Swamp
so-
Thing. What is it about?
It's fine. It's fine. Anyway,
Fine.
it's fine.
All right, Swamp Thing. Anyway, Swamp Thing. You remember him?
Nope. Tell me about him.
I didn't do research on him.
I
It's
tried,
like
to,
multi-
but he crashed
Alright,
my.
Your
did he
name is
crash
on
your-
it.
How did he
Laptop.
crash your PC? Somebody else search it while we're talking about this. How did he crash your computer?
shit.
Because you said this in chat.
All right, I did
All right,
a
it's-
little bit. Of,
I see an image. It looks like a creature is popping out of the swamp.
All right, I did a little bit of research about Swamp Thing just in case for this. So, the only thing I could find was the origin story for his New 52 story, and basically he used to be the scientist whose name was Dr. Alec Holland, who basically like experimented on like some plant lives because he was very passionate about it. And basically there are these plant guardians that actually chose him to be like the guardian of plant life,
Galaxy?
something out of what?
The Galaxy? Guardians
No.
of the Galaxy?
No, of plant lives, but because
Wait,
basically
is this Groot?
no, it's not Groot.
We're on DC now, not Marvel.
Yeah.
Gosh, get over it.
But yeah, basically, every life form has like some sort of guardian. There's one for like plants, which is Swamp Thing. We have for land creatures. We have for water creatures and stuff like that. But then there are these evil creatures that are associated with death, known as the Rot. And when the Rot find out that this guy was going to be the next guardian, they basically try to kill him in advance, like setting him on fire. The plant guardians tried to save them, but it was in vain, so he pretty much drowned in the water. So they created this artificial Swamp Thing with Alec's memory, so he believed he was always Alec, but really he was not. However, Alec later then returned because he was apparently just in a coma under the water for these couple of, I don't know how long he was gone. But basically, in the end, he agrees that, yeah, sure, I'll become the next Swamp Thing. And yeah, he eventually becomes the Swamp Thing and is now the guardian of plant lives and whatnot.
It's fucking weird. Yeah, I did look a little bit at like panels and stuff, and this kind of gives me a very like, I can't remember what the comic was specifically called, but it was like a book where like it had a lot of horror comics in it, or like something from Tales of the Crypt comics. Like it has that sort of vibe to it, I feel. And yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of Swamp Thing before personally. Or maybe I did, but I always assumed it had something to do with like a universal monster or something. I mixed it up with like the creature from the Black Lagoon or whatever. So yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of it being a DC character, so that was kind of interesting.
Marvel has his own swamp character known as Man-Thing.
Oh, come on.
Who came first, though? Is it a Namor thing, or...
Man-Thing came... I think Man-Thing came first by a month.
That's right, Marvel's first.
Wow. Actually, yeah, that's even more blatant if it's like a month.
I know, they had to
DC
jump on
does
that
their
quick.
own. Wow. Like, at least wait a bit, usually. Like, I'm sure Deathstroke came a while after... I'm sorry, Deadpool at least came a while after Deathstroke, so...
Well, Deadpool was always intended to be a parody of Deathstroke, so... Yeah.
We should cover Deadpool because his face is scary.
Well, there is...
Looks like lasagna.
Well, there is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which is kind of effed up.
You look like an avocado had sex with an older avocado. Fuck. Avocado. Hey, it sounds like me rapping.
Anyway, the next one we have is the Black Lantern Corps, which is like the DC equivalent to the Marvel Zombies.
I did a little bit of research on this one. I didn't do a ton, but yeah, from what I've been told and what I've seen, basically what this one revolves around is, so in the Green Lantern stories, they're involved these like sort of emotion rings, and every ring has like a certain emotion, a certain guardian, and a certain guardian that like leads the people that represent that emotion and that color ring. You have obviously green, which is how Jordan represents willpower. Atrocitus, did I get that right?
Atrocitus is
Okay,
red
cool.
for rage.
Yeah, and yeah, for the red one, I don't know any of the others. I know the fucking other colors, but yeah, there also exist black and white rings, which represent life and death. And from what I understand, this story opens with somebody finding the black ring that had been abandoned, and they become sort of Black Hand, and they began raising the zombie. I don't know, like, I don't really understand, because I didn't look into it, this isn't at the fault of the story, but, I don't really understand, like, from what I understand, he starts raising the dead bodies of, like, Justice League members and whatever, and recruits them as, like, Black Lantern zombies under him. But, like, I guess what I didn't look into is, like, how did they die in the first place? Like, why is Superman and people like that dead?
Well, Superman is not dead. There's just a couple of characters that are dead. Like, Batman is believed to be dead, however, he was just stuck in, like, an endless time travel, so he was not dead.
Oh.
But the thing is that, basically, in the Blackest Night story arc, many of the characters had died before, but has been resurrected before. However, that apparently qualifies to become a Black Lantern. So basically, they spit out these Black Lantern rings, and if you died once and get these Black Lantern rings, you get turned into a zombie.
Oh, shit.
That's pretty spooky.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically the whole comic is Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, and the Flash battling these zombies.
That's pretty cool. Those two are really good characters.
Wait, who in the Flash?
Hal Jordan.
Oh.
Green Lantern.
Yeah.
What's cool
brain farted there. I didn't know who that was.
What's cool then is that basically why the Black Hand resurrect these zombies is because, like, the more zombies it resurrects, the more stronger the entity known as Necrom becomes, who's like the ultimate leader of Black Lanterns, I guess. So what's cool is that every leader from the Lantern Corps decides to team up in order to defeat the greater evils. That means Hal Jordan teams up with like the likes of Sinestro and Atrocitus, who are usually villains.
Oh yeah, I don't know how I forgot Sinestro, but yeah.
Yeah, but what's cool as well is that after a while, some of the remaining DC characters actually become temporary members of the Lantern Corps. Like, the Flash becomes a Blue Lantern, Scarecrow becomes yellow because yellow is fear. Lex Luthor becomes orange, and yeah.
Oh, you mean
So
like
pretty
other
much an all-up-
DC villains? Oh, that's kind of cool.
No, DC characters in general. Like, they all team up against this dead entity known as Necrom.
Ah. I don't know. I think I like the concept of Marvel Zombies a little bit more from what I understand of both stories. Like, I don't know, maybe if I looked more into it, I would like it, but...
Yeah,
I don't
me
know.
personally,
I can't
too.
really explain, like, why I like it more. It's just kind of like...
I just think the concept of...
This captures more of, like, an epic, like, oh shit, undead, like, heroes facing good, whereas, like, Marvel Zombies more focuses on, like, the very bad horror element of, like, and the implications behind it to, like, you know, people on Earth and shit.
I guess the reason why is because with the Blackest Night, there's still heroes fighting for the good and they're actually winning. However, when it comes to Marvel Zombies, like, there's nothing that can save you now. Pretty much every hope you had is now zombified.
Yeah.
Which makes it this more scarier.
Guys.
What?
I didn't record.
Bullshit, I've seen it this whole time.
Shut up. Okay. Nah, I'm sorry. I wanted to trigger rage.
Dude, you almost stopped my heart.
You're fired.
You can't fire me.
You're fired from your own show, damn it.
Yeah, I'm taking over.
Actually, yeah, Matthew, you are taking over. The next thing we're going to talk about is something called Gotham by Midnight, yet another story directed to us by our comic books, and to give Matthew a segment, we gave him that to kind of cover. I understand a little bit about it, but let's see what Matthew has dredged up about this story.
I tried reading it, but I fucking...
What?
I couldn't fucking... It was too long.
How far did you get?
Like, I was stuck on, like, the first issue.
Ah.
I thought you were going to say the first page.
Yeah, me too. I was like, fucking Matthew, make an attempt. Like, Jesus. It's too hard.
Okay, this is what I got. This is what I kind of got from it. It's not going to be, like, a lot, but... This,
It doesn't
okay,
have
so
to be a lot.
I'm just going to scroll through these like this page and, like, see what I see. Like, say what I see.
Okay.
There's this bald guy and this this guy with glasses. And,
Oh my god.
Shut up.
They're like talking to each other about like some shit, and then they're outside.
Wow.
Why
Tell
are
me
you
more.
telling me to shut up, Multi? This is... Oh my god.
I read a little bit of synopsis of it, and from my
Save us,
understand,
Matthew, you're a fucking disgrace.
from what I understand, like, I don't know much about it, but from what I understand, it's basically about the DC character Spectre, who's taking a bunch of people to, like, watch, like, the supernatural part of Gotham. However, there's, like, some police investigator that could ruin this whole thing. I don't know. Like, that's all I understand, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, like, the story behind, like, Spectre was also, like, mentioned by us to cover, but, like, I think somebody looked at it and they said that, I think it might have been Stoff as well. They looked at it too and they said it wasn't, like, creepy at all.
It's like, I guess it's a little bit spooky, but it's not, like, disturbing worth, like, yeah, blob-eating wasp or marbled zombies, nothing like that.
That file name was pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, but, sorry, should we move on from Gotham by Midnight? I feel like we can't add anything more.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah,
ever
'cause
do
I've-
part 2, we'll give a lot of these, like, more...
Yeah,
worthy things.
You won't have me in it.
Matthew,
I
you
mean,
had
we're
one
not saying
job.
that, but...
Anyway, the next one is a graphic novel simply known as Joker.
Oh, yeah, now Nathan can talk.
Okay, so I
Ooh,
watched
sorry.
a review of this graphic novel by Joshua Flannery.
Shouldn't have said that.
Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. I watched the review.
Okay.
Now, this is completely focused on the Joker, as it is a Joker graphic novel. Batman isn't even in it until, like, the very final shot of the thing. And, yeah. Okay. And it's basically about how the Joker is released from Arkham Asylum, goes back to Gotham City, and he's like, I got to regain that power that I had. He used to be the villain of the city, but then he's locked up for so long that everybody thought he was gone forever. Now he's back in action. Bam. It's also told through the eyes of one of Joker's men, Johnny Frost. So it's not actually in the perspective of the Joker, which I thought it would have been. Yeah, there's a picture right there for you. He was also, Joshua Flannery was also saying that this book has a more realistic story of the Joker than The Dark Knight. And when he said it, he seemed like it was a very controversial thing to say. So I'm sure people are going to be angry about that. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like The Dark Knight doesn't have a lot of the Joker story in it.
I've actually heard that it's rumored that The Dark Knight was partially inspired by this graphic novel, especially when it comes to the performance of Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah, I enjoyed The Dark Knight. I thought it was, I don't know, I haven't seen The Dark Knight Rises, like including Bane, but
yeah, I didn't see the Rises.
That movie obviously is going to have a completely different tone than something that involves the Joker in sort of a realistic setting. But yeah, I understand. Like, this actually came to our attention because Stove once again brought it up and said there involved a lot of creepy implied things about the Joker.
Yeah. Oh, it's not just implied. Basically, yeah, like Nathan said, Joker wants Gotham to know who's the boss. So he goes around murdering a bunch of people, and apparently one of the gruesome things he does is that he meets one of his former henchmen, known as I forgot what his name was.
Johnny Frost.
I don't know. No, it's not him.
Oh.
Basically, let's just call him just a henchman. So basically meets his former henchman who like leads a bar or something, and Joker does not like the way he leads this bar. So what he does is he skins him alive and forces him to dance skinless in front of the people in his bar. Yep.
Some messed up shit.
He just rips off his skin. It doesn't rip off his intestines or anything.
I know, but it's like, jeez, I don't know.
It's a comic book. I mean, it's not a documentary. Let's.
Well, it's a graphic novel.
Where the fuck does it say documentary graphic?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we have Watchmen, and I don't think that's very realistic, and that's a graphic novel.
True.
We have
and
it was also described as very gritty, dark, bloody, and gory. All of those words.
Sounds like something. That
sounds like the
happen.
Joker.
Yeah, with the Joker.
And yeah, speaking of the Joker, it's time for the final comic to talk about in this podcast, which is one of the most famous ones on this. You probably heard about it. It's known as
Bendy.
Yes. Bendy. No, it's known as Batman the Killing Joke.
Oh, it's a good joke. Trust me.
Oh, God.
It'll kill you, too.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, so,
the focus, I guess to be fair, the focus isn't really on the joke.
Well, yeah.
Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, Nathan, you said you read The Killing Joke and you liked it, so tell us, what is The Killing Joke about?
No. I said I read a summary of it. I did not read the whole thing.
Hey, at least you didn't read a review.
Okay, but
at least you
what can you tell?
Scroll around and say, I'm seeing a bald guy. I'm seeing
yeah. A guy with glasses. He's outside.
I couldn't read the
But yeah.
page.
But yeah, Nathan, what can you tell us from your knowledge about the Killing Joke?
Well, what I can tell you is that joke, man, the punchline, whoo, it's killer, literally.
Are you saying that because the name of it is The Killing Joke?
We were originally. It's unfortunate that Xander decided to clock out in the middle of the podcast.
I know he
because
could have given
was
so
gonna
much
talk
to
about
this.
a lot. He was gonna
We
talk
should have
about
done
the
this
movie.
first.
Well, I didn't.
All right.
I don't know
with these
why, because I didn't know
base-
Xander was just gonna go to sleep. But whatever.
All right,
wait. One thing I will say is,
right.
like I was saying earlier, it was interesting how the Joker became the Joker in this. I was reading about that.
Yeah,
Would they
there is
explain
like
this? Like,
There's
I only
some-
know,
what-
I only know the stuff about like Barbara Gordon, which I'm sure stuff we'll get into in a minute. But I didn't know it had to do with like origins and shit.
basically they do somewhat explain Joker's origin story of this,
Yeah.
but it's not entirely clear if that is his origin story or not, because Joker does mention that he sometimes himself forget what his origin was.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But basically, from my understanding, is that he used to be a failed comedian, and eventually got into like, unfortunately, getting into crime, had to pick up the identity as the Red Hood. He went into a fight with Batman. Batman accidentally dropped him in a pool of acid, and he becomes the Joker from there.
Turned his skin bleach chalk white, stained his lips red, dyed his hair bright green.
And had like a permanent smile on his face, pretty much.
Yep.
3/4
I
of
don't
that
know-
sounds
I don't know-
exactly like Jeff the Killer.
I don't know how acid can do all that, but we'll move past that.
Comics. Anyway, the short summary of the plot of The Killing Joke is that the Joker is going around on a, he's going around and torturing a bunch of people because he wants to prove that even the most sanest people can get turned insane by just one bad day.
Just
So-
one bad day.
One bad joke.
day. One bad day can turn some of the most sanest people insane. So some of the things he does is probably the most infamous is that he goes up to Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, and shoots her in the spine, making her crippled. And
You laughed at that, you.
Yo, why'd you
Yeah.
laugh
I
at
didn't
that?
laugh. I was like, oh, that's terrible. I wasn't like, she's crippled.
That's what it sounded like to me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
she
sorry
could
to
walk
everybody
off
who
that
was
shit.
offended.
And what he also does is that he kidnaps Commissioner Gordon and puts him on like this joyride, and throughout this ride, he gets forced to watch these pictures that Joker has taken of Barbara Gordon being naked, and it is implied but not confirmed.
that's right.
It's implied but not confirmed. I'm pretty sure it didn't happen, but it's implied that the Joker did in fact rape her as well. But I'm pretty sure that's not what happened.
Shit. Yeah. Whatever. Continue.
But
Pixels.
yeah, so Batman is on the case and trying to stop the Joker, and the whole. All right, so the whole.
Did you say the Joker gives
comic.
Gordon LSD?
He does.
He does?
He does.
Oh, I did not know that.
Well, okay, it says it is implied but not explicitly said that the Joker gives Gordon LSD to continue his mental torture.
Man, this comic's got a lot of implications, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And that's one thing I like about it, though, is it leaves you with a lot of mystery. And I know that could be a reason why somebody might not like it at all, because it doesn't explain a lot. But sometimes it can be, leave you thinking about it. Like, okay, what if it was this way, or what if it was that way?
I see your point.
All
but
right.
Personally, in a comic book, when you're trying to convey a message, just specifically myself, I like it when I can understand what's happening. I don't like it when I'm like, oh, how did he survive that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I do agree.
What
with
just
that.
happened? Oh, what superpower just came out of nowhere? That stuff just kind of confuses me, especially when I'm trying to read or trying to basically watch a slideshow, essentially, that I can't really see what's happening all the time.
Yeah. So basically, the whole story of The Killing Joke ends like this. So Batman is like, he's had enough. He doesn't want to fight the Joker anymore. So he actually gives him a choice that, like, he can give up crime and stop their year-long war, Otherwise, they will be eternally locked in this battle. So, yeah, he actually gives Joker a choice to actually give this all up. The Joker, however, responds that it's too late for that, far too late, and then he tells Batman this joke. See, there were these two guys in a lunatic asylum, and one night, they decide they don't like living in an asylum anymore. They decide they're going to escape. So, like, they get up onto the roof, and there, just across this narrow gap, they see of the town stretching away in the moonlight, stretching away from freedom. Now, the first guy, he jumps right across with no problem, but his friend did not dare make the leap. You see, he's afraid of falling. So then, the first guy has an idea. He says, "Hey, I have my flashlight with me. I'll shine that across the gap between the buildings. You can walk along the beam and join me." But the second guy just shakes his head. He says, "What do you think I am, crazy? You turned it off when I was halfway across."
God.
So, yeah.
You can't walk on light. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, not really the
Thank you,
funniest.
Nathan.
Not really the funniest joke, but somehow, yeah, the Joker
Don't
just laughed.
undersell it. It's the funniest goddamn joke I've ever heard in my life.
All right,
Yeah, it killed
the
me.
joke killed my sense of humor. Anyway, the Joker starts laughing, of course. However, what's surprising is that Batman actually starts to
Breaks his
laugh
neck.
as well. Shut up. So
Sorry.
the comic,
Didn't, but I'll
the
get to why
comic
not in a
end.
minute.
The comic ends with Batman and Joker laughing with each other, and you hear police sirens coming, and the panel slowly moves away, and it seems like the laugh suddenly just stops, and everything just stops. So it's implied that the reason why Batman was laughing was that he pretty much cracked. He pretty much sort of went insane and actually snapped Joker's neck, because Joker said himself, it's too late. It's far too late to turn down crimes. So the only solution to stop this is to kill him.
Okay.
That's what Stoff the Loaf says. I disagree. I say that it actually happened.
I also disagree in the fact that, I don't know. I don't think he killed them. I don't really see why.
Yeah. Personally,
I don't see it.
Personally, I don't think he killed him either, because
I think he did.
I think he did too.
Batman
Right?
breaks the Joker's neck. Boom. Dead.
Whatever.
That's fine. You can think that. However, yeah, there are apparently evidence that points towards that. Yeah, he did not kill him. One example from what I heard. Okay. Just a warning. I might not be the best to explain this, but one example, for example, is Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl. Because, yeah, Joker cripples her, which makes her Oracle. She comes sitting in a wheelchair, and when she is Oracle, Joker somehow ends up returning into the comics later on. So, if he's dead, how did he return then?
Maybe it's not canon.
Well,
All
killing
stories
Joker
after she becomes Oracle are uncanon. No.
No, I mean, this
killing-
one isn't.
Killing Joke is confirmed canon.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So you're
So-
wrong.
Took him
Yeah,
this
I don't-
long to kill the Joker?
But, what?
Nothing.
No,
Oh.
what'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
The killing joke was so bad it didn't even really kill him.
Right, so,
What
yeah.
a bitch.
I personally don't believe Batman killed Joker, but if you think so, that's fine, because this is meant to be open for interpretation. There is no real answer, and saying that there is, and saying you're wrong, in my opinion, is extremely close-minded.
Well, okay, then why is there any theory that Batman did kill the Joker if it's already confirmed that he's alive?
Yeah,
in the future.
That's actually what I was gonna ask. I don't really, because I've seen the panels myself, and I don't really understand.
Because, like I said, Batman realized there is no hope for the Joker, and he realizes that if he lets Joker go, he's just going to end up doing this shit all over again, so might as well just end it. It is truly the only way, and the fact that this is called the Killing Joke. And there was apparently this comic writer who said it himself, that he truly believed that Batman killed him, hence why the title is The Killing Joke.
But I just don't understand. Like, if this is canon and he's still alive in future times, like, then it's confirmed he didn't kill him, right? Isn't that how that works?
Dude,
I don't know.
Isn't
something that can
Killing
always be
Joke the
pulled
most
with-
recent?
No. Killing Joke was like a while. The most recent thing on Killing
I knew
Joke
the
was like
movie
that
was
movie.
recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I knew was recent.
Yeah, the movie. I think honestly, I've seen that scene. I think that was the only scene I liked in the whole movie. Was the way they did the actual Killing Joke part. I liked that a lot. Everything else was just kind of. And once again, I wish Xander were here because he had a lot to say on the Killing Joke movie. But
Yeah. And by the way, just want to point this out real quick. I forgot to do this. The joke I said earlier, the Killing Joke itself, apparently it is supposed to reflect the relationship between Batman and the Joker. They're both two lunatics that they're locked in this eternal battle. However, eventually one of them is trying to help them in a way that doesn't work. And the other one says a stupid joke in the end. Just like how this guy is trying to help the other guy by shining a light across two gaps and telling him to walk on the lights. And of course that doesn't work, so he says it doesn't work, but then ends up with a stupid joke. Which it makes the joke a little bit more like, how do I say, like, it makes more sense to me. Like,
Makes it more relevant?
Makes it more
I understand the relationship between the joke and like Batman and Joker, kind of. So yeah, that was kind of like a given. But
but still.
Yeah, like I feel like I really should read that comic to give it justice because I know the basic premise behind the story and I've seen like most of the movie, but I definitely recommend instead of just watching the movie, actually reading that comic because I'm sure there's a reason why it's one of the more popular ones, for a reason.
Mm-hmm. But anything more you want to add, guys?
No, that's all I got.
Are we? Oh, I thought we were like supposed to watch the trailer for the movie.
I did, but if Xander's not here, like I don't know. I feel like we've talked about as much of the movie as we personally can, unless if he were around, I'm sure he would have more to add on like why he didn't like it. Because I know he had a laundry list of things he didn't like about the movie and stuff he was going to talk about the comic in general, but it's unfortunate. It's also really unfortunate Seth couldn't be here. I really, I feel like this is kind of like his niche, but
it is. But I mean, I would like to think there would be another comic book one.
Yeah, definitely.
I
feel like one, there's a ton of more things we haven't covered, and two, I feel like we could probably do to recover a lot of things we talked about tonight because.
Don't use those words.
Tonight's been kind of plagued with a lot of problems.
Gotham by midnight.
Yeah, Matthew's
can we maybe
flop on Gotham by midnight? My flop on recording about 20 minutes of content, and then
can we maybe do this a little bit earlier then? Because guess what the clock is at my time?
I'm gonna say 7 a.m.
Sort of, yes.
What do you mean, sort of?
Huh?
Well, it's 6:52, but yeah.
Ooh.
That means yes. Just round up, dude.
Fucking whatever. I was close. I was right. But we'll definitely. We will definitely account more for your time next time because on top of all this, Stoff is really tired because he's a Swedish guy.
And he eats loaves.
And we're always tired.
And he's a scrawny fucker.
Ha 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 ha. That was a killing joke.
And fucking Xander had to just clock out on the middle of us.
Yeah.
I don't even know when he left. Like, I heard him. No, I knew we were gonna have problems from the moment. Like, I heard him say, like, "Can you guys hear me?" And he was at first I thought he was just testing his gain, and then we were like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Good, because I'm in bed." And I was like, "Oh."
He's got his mic.
He's
He's
about
got his
to-
mic across the room.
Yeah, I think he's about to fucking fall asleep. But yeah.
Oh well.
Anyway,
It is. I'm happy with what we've done tonight, but yeah, I do believe we could probably do a little bit more justice next time. So yeah, this is not the end. I do want to cover Scarecrow. The problem with Scarecrow and the reason why we didn't include him tonight was, I think I said a little bit earlier, but yeah, there's just so much to him and his character, especially like I want to talk about the Arkham games a lot when I talk about Scarecrow. That I don't know, I feel like trying to cram him in with everything else here would be a little bit overkill and would overflood us a little bit. So
Definitely.
Well,
There's also a lot with Joker.
Yeah, I was about to suggest the Joker episode as well, Nathan. Me and you, dude, we're firing on all cylinders tonight. I really dig it.
Yeah, let's do it.
yeah,
right
maybe,
now.
Me and
maybe
Adam
joint
do a whole-
Joker Scarecrow episode where we'll hub
Oh,
Xander on
yeah.
and he'll
Interesting.
He'll talk more about Killing Joke,
Okay.
the movie.
I do like that
specifically.
idea. And maybe if you guys are looking for more content or something, you could just kind of make it like a Batman villain type of deal.
Yeah,
But,
maybe.
anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. I think we need to wrap this up now.
Yeah.
My
that's-
bed is calling for me.
That's fair.
Yeah, I do apologize for keeping you up so late and wasting at least 20 minutes of your time. But yeah,
Also, 5 minutes and 15 seconds with that maximum Carnage ride.
come on, that wasn't. I don't know. Like, I feel like
It wasn't the worst.
It's just, I don't know. Well, yeah. Also, you have to keep in mind you were watching my screen, so you didn't have audio of this boring guy explaining how hydraulics and his waterfall effects
yeah.
are supposed to spook people.
That's right. That would have been much better with audio.
I mean, the narrator at least sounded cool.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be kind of interesting. It's an interesting concept because usually when you think of like horror attractions at theme parks and shit, you think like, you know, just your
Like a
typical
haunted
spooky
house.
creatures. Yeah, I would never think of like making a horror attraction on like
Yeah,
a
that's true.
Spider-Man villain. Like it's interesting.
Yeah, it is a unique concept, and I did like some of how it was done, especially with like those shots of it at night. I thought that those were pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think like
but-
the only thing I think were a bit weird about that like attraction was like, I don't know, I felt like Carnage henchmen are a bit dumb. Like the way I would
Yeah.
probably do it,
the
I would-
random guys.
yeah, the way I would probably do it to like make it like do justice to the original story but keep it creepy would be like you have to run through the maze, but like you're told
Carnage is
supposed
chasing
to,
you.
Yeah, you're supposed to like avoid Carnage just on his own, and knowing that it's
Yeah.
only one person you have to avoid would make it a little bit more interesting. But
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more strategic.
oh yeah,
I think it'd be cool if maybe you had like everybody start in like a whole room or something, and then you had Carnage like kind of in the room with everybody else in the starting room, and kind of like spook them and like feel like their entire like quote unquote team got infiltrated or something.
You know
By
what I
Carnage.
think?
What?
I think they should do it like based on the mind bomb. Basically, like this whole
Minecon?
this mind bomb. This
Sorry.
whole horror attraction that you go through. Basically, what if you go through like a twisted world based on like from Carnage point of view? Like you see a bunch of like insane people, like
That would
just
be
how Carnage
cool.
sees. I heard that's what the Maximum Carnage ride was actually about, and apparently you get to see like graphically like mutilated images of Spider-Man and Captain America.
That's pretty cool.
Shit.
Yeah.
Where was that again? I actually forget where it was. Like at Universal or some shit.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah,
Universal.
Universal Studios, yeah.
But yeah,
They
I
got
guess-
everything there.
Yeah, I guess if that's it, of what we're gonna talk about. Thank you for joining us. Hope we entertained you as we walked you through these stories. Maybe sometime in the far future we'll try again with more, redo some of the ones we didn't really do justice. But
Matthew.
Justice League. Wait, damn
that
it.
was the joke. But the killing joke.
The Killing Joke.
Oh God, I hate myself.
But yeah, hopefully you were entertained. Hopefully you can listen to us as we ran through them.
Hopefully I won't be here next time.
Shut up! Don't say that. Jesus. But
Thank you all for tuning in, though.
I didn't really
thank
bring
you.
anything.
I really appreciate you guys. I'm very glad that we had good reception on the first episode too. That went like pretty much without a hitch, and I had a lot of fun there, and I had fun here too. But yeah,
There were lots of hitches here, though.
Lots of hitches.
yeah, we trooped through. So
We
yeah.
had fun. I had fun, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also hope, we were able to direct you more in the direction of like stories we didn't do justice. You go for yourself and go check them out. They definitely deserve your attention. And yeah, one last shout out to the guys on our comic books for helping us out a lot, providing a lot of stories for us to look at. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Good night, and thanks for tuning in.
See ya.